The hallway went silent. Only moments earlier it had been filled with laughter, footsteps, and the low hum of lockers slamming shut between classes. Now, all eyes were locked on the new girl, her dress torn right down the side, her cheeks flushed, and her trembling hands clutching the fabric together. She hadn't spoken a word since stepping into Jefferson High 2 weeks ago. But what happened next would make sure nobody ever forgot her again. Her name was Hannah Lee. She had just moved from a small town overseas where her father was a martial arts instructor. She kept her head down, afraid her accent would draw unwanted attention. Every lunch, she sat alone near the far window in the cafeteria, eating from the small lunchbox her mom packed. She didn't know the rules of this new place yet, the unspoken social hierarchy that decided who could speak, who could sit where, and who became an easy target. Unfortunately, her quiet nature and unfamiliar style of clothing made her stand out. And in high school, standing out could be dangerous. The trouble began with a group of 3. Mia, the self-proclaimed queen of the sophomore class, and her shadows, Carla and Jen. They thrived on humiliating others, and Hannah, with her silence, became their perfect prey. It started small, snickers when she walked past, whispers about her weird lunch, a shove into the lockers as if it were accidental. Hannah ignored it. Her father had taught her that not every fight was worth having. But that lesson was about to be tested. One rainy Tuesday afternoon, Hannah was walking down the hallway between classes. She felt it before she saw them, the presence of Maya and her crew closing in. "Nice dress," Mia sneered, stepping into Hannah's path. "Where'd you get it?" "The 1900s. Hannah kept walking, trying to slip by. But Carla grabbed the edge of her sleeve, spinning her around. Jen smirked, and before Hannah could react, Mia's hand shot out, catching the hem of her dress. With a loud rip, the fabric tore up the side. Gasps erupted from nearby students. Hannah froze, heat burning in her chest. She could hear laughter, feel the sting of humiliation wrapping around her like chains. Her heart pounded and her breathing grew shallow. In that instant, her father's voice echoed in her mind. "There is a time to walk away and a time to stand your ground." When Mia reached for her again, something inside Hannah snapped. She dropped her lunchbox, stepped forward, and in one swift movement, her palm struck Mia's shoulder, spinning her off balance. A second later, Hannah's hand chopped downward in a precise strike that knocked the phone right out of Jen's hand before she could record. Carla lunged toward her, but Hannah sidestepped, her arm blocking the incoming shove, and with a gentle push, Carla stumbled into the lockers. The hallway erupted, but this time not with laughter. It was shock, awe, and a ripple of murmurs spreading like wildfire. Hannah didn't yell, didn't gloat. She simply adjusted her torn dress, picked up her lunchbox, and walked toward the principal's office on her own. By the end of the day, the story had already made its way through the entire school. The bullies were suspended for harassment. But Hannah wasn't celebrating. She sat quietly in the office, waiting for her parents. When her father arrived, he didn't scold her. He simply nodded and said, "You didn't start the fight, but you ended it with control." That's strength. Over the next few weeks, something changed. Students who had once ignored her now smiled in the hallways. Some even apologized for laughing that day. Hannah wasn't looking for friends, but slowly, they came to her, drawn not by fear but by respect. The hallway incident became a story told in whispers, not about a shy girl who lost her temper, but about a young woman who refused to be broken. And Hannah learned something too. Strength wasn't about being able to knock someone down. It was about standing tall when the world tried to make you small. She didn't need to be loud to be heard. She just needed to be herself and never bow to cruelty again. Hannah Lee's first day at Jefferson High felt like stepping into another universe. The hallways were endless rivers of students flowing in every direction, their voices echoing off the walls like a constant wave. Back home in her small town overseas, the entire school could fit into one hallway. Here she felt like a tiny boat in a storm. Her clothes were simple, a soft, handmade dress her mother had sewn. It wasn't flashy, but it felt like home. The moment she stepped inside, she noticed how everyone else dressed: jeans, sneakers, bright jackets with brand logos. Her dress didn't fit in, but she didn't care. Or at least, she told herself she didn't. The first week passed quietly. Hannah kept her head down, sitting at the back of her classes, her lunch eaten in silence at a table in the far corner of the cafeteria. She didn't mind being alone. She had always been more of an observer. But being invisible didn't mean she was safe. The trouble began when Mia Winters noticed her. Maya wasn't just another student. She was the kind of girl whose words could make or break someone's reputation in minutes. Her shiny hair, perfectly coordinated outfits, and confident walk made her the unspoken ruler of the sophomore class. People wanted her attention, unless she turned that attention into a weapon. It started small. Maya would whisper something to her friends when Hannah passed, and they would all laugh. Carla accidentally knocked her books to the floor. Jen made faces behind her back in the cafeteria line. Hannah ignored it all. Her father had taught her that reacting to every insult gave bullies power. So she walked away each time, her silence her only shield. But the shield began to crack. One morning in gym class, Mia made a show of asking, "Hey Hannah, can you even run? Or do you just float around in those old clothes?" The girls giggled. Hannah didn't answer. But inside, something burned. She remembered the long hours she'd spent training in her father's dojo. Not for fighting, but for focus, for balance, for discipline. Still, she let it go. It was a rainy Tuesday when everything changed. The hallways were slick with the smell of damp coats and wet shoes. Hannah was walking to her next class, clutching her lunchbox and her notebook, when she heard the familiar snicker behind her. "Hey, Grandma!" Mia's voice was sharp and full of mockery. "Nice dress! Is it vintage? Like ancient vintage?" Hannah kept walking, but footsteps quickened behind her. A hand grabbed her arm, Carla smirking. "You're not ignoring us, are you?" Hannah tried to step aside, but Mia blocked her path. The hallway had begun to slow, students sensing something about to happen. Jen leaned in with her phone, already recording. And then it happened. The sound that froze Hannah in place. Re-yip. Maya's hand yanked the side of her dress, tearing the fabric upward. Gasps filled the hallway. Some laughed, others just stared. Hannah's face burned, her hands clutching the torn fabric. For a moment, time seemed to stop. She could hear her own heartbeat. She could hear her father's voice in her mind. "There is a time to walk away and a time to stand your ground." Her eyes lifted, meeting Mia's smug expression. The humiliation in her chest shifted, not into rage, but into something sharper, resolve. She let her lunchbox fall to the floor with a soft thud. Her right foot slid back slightly. Her hands loosened. The years of practice, of balanced drills, of precise movements, all rose to the surface. Maya reached forward again, but Hannah's arm moved faster. A quick block, redirecting Mia's hand away. In one swift motion, Hannah stepped in and delivered a controlled open, palm strike to Maya's shoulder, spinning her off balance. Jen's phone came up to capture the chaos, but before she could hit record, Hannah's hand snapped down in a precise chop, knocking the phone from her grip. Carla lunged forward, but Hannah sidestepped and guided her into the lockers with a push so light it looked effortless. The hallway went utterly silent. No one moved. No one spoke. Hannah didn't shout. She didn't threaten. She simply adjusted her torn dress, bent to pick up her lunchbox, and walked past the stunned crowd. The only sound was her footsteps fading toward the principal's office. By the end of the day, the entire school knew the story. The bullies were suspended for harassment. The video, the few seconds that had been recorded before Hannah stopped it, was deleted under threat of further punishment. But the story had already grown. Some said she was a black belt who could take down 10 people at once. Others swore she'd moved so fast they barely saw it happen. Hannah didn't care about the rumors. She hadn't done it for attention. When her father picked her up that afternoon, he didn't scold her. He didn't even ask what happened. He'd already heard. He just looked at her and said, "You didn't fight to win. You fought to end it." That's the difference. Over the next weeks, things changed. Students who had laughed now greeted her in the hall. Some even apologized. Hannah didn't suddenly become popular, but she no longer ate lunch alone. And when she walked down the hallway, the crowd parted, not out of fear but respect. Hannah learned that day that strength wasn't about hurting people. It was about protecting yourself when no one else would. She didn't need to be loud to be heard. She just needed to stand her ground when it mattered most. And from that day forward, no one ever dared to rip her dress or her dignity again.